Jerusalem, the beginning of the first millennium. The high priest Caiaphas lies dying. His last request? To be buried with 2 nails from an act that haunted him. The crucifixion of Jesus. Did Caiaphas, one of the most vilified characters in Christianity, regret what he had done? The discovery of a tomb in Jerusalem and 2 nails may hold the key to a new take on a 2,000-year-old villain and reveal one of Christianity's greatest relics. Jerusalem, 1990. The first Gulf War has the Holy City under lockdown. Scud missiles are landing. Israeli civilians stocking up on gas masks. Amidst this turmoil, a significant archaeological discovery goes largely unnoticed.
It just happened by chance. They were expanding a Peace Park area. A tractor hit the top of the tomb. But at first glance, this just looks like a really normal first century tomb. There's nothing exceedingly special about it.
Inside, they find a few artifacts, bones, and 12 limestone burial boxes, or ossuaries.
Back in the first century, in Jesus' day, when people died, the family members would gather up the bones and place them inside a bone box, which we call an ossuary.
The tomb is emptied. The artifacts are brought to the Israel Antiquities Authority, or IAA's headquarters in Jerusalem. But whose tomb is it? After dusting off 2 millennia of dirt and debris, archaeologists examine the ossuaries in more detail.
And they begin to focus in on the beautiful decor, the rosettes, the patterns that are within. They begin to raise their eyebrows and to say, this is more than just a regular first century tomb.
Something unique catches their attention that sets this tomb apart. The name Caiaphas appears inscribed on 2 of the ossuaries. This name is known from first century historian Josephus, who calls him Joseph Caiaphas, and the Gospels, which simply call him Caiaphas.
He is the high priest. Caiaphas has a very big and usually very negative role as a man who masterminded Jesus' death. If you look at movies about Jesus, you've almost always got Caiaphas there yelling, crucify him, and, lobbying for this guy's death and, whipping up the crowd so that everybody will really be shouting for it. He's the one who plotted to have Jesus killed. He is the villain of the piece.
Today, Caiaphas is perceived by millions as the ultimate Christ killer. Can anything else shed light on whether this is his tomb and his ossuary?
The fact is, Caiaphas, it is a rare name. It's a name that we know from both Jewish sources and from the New Testament. And it is good in dating and timing for that period. The most elaborate ossuary, very luckily for us, had twice an inscription on it, naming Joseph, son of Caiaphas. We have never found anywhere else an ossuary with the name Joseph, son of Caiaphas, anywhere else.
For over a year, archaeologists examine all the artifacts in the tomb, including a coin, an oil lamp, and the bones of a man around 60 years old. They conclude this is the bone box of the high priest Caiaphas. It's the first time an individual from the Gospels has ever been discovered in archaeology.
The discovery of the Caiaphas tomb is thrilling beyond words. Just the idea that we can identify a place associated with Caiaphas, his tomb, his ossuary, that is a big thrill because before we knew him just from the Gospels and Josephus.
The news now makes international headlines, and the ossuaries are sent around the world on exhibit. For most, the story ended there. Years later, while doing research on the tomb, investigative journalist Simcha Yakubovich finds something very unusual. He looks more closely at the objects discovered in the tomb and is shocked by two seemingly forgotten items.
I couldn't believe when I saw that in the archaeological report they had found two nails. We're talking about two Roman-era nails in the tomb of Caiaphas. They found one nail in an ossuary. I couldn't believe that nobody reported that.
Nails are not unique in archaeological digs in the Holy Land, but a nail found inside an ossuary is another matter.
At all sites, anywhere in Jerusalem, I've dug right here in Jerusalem, we find 10 nails a day. But we're not in a Jewish tomb. We're in a residential area like this. I'm sure many nails were found right behind me when this was excavated. But they were in window frames and door frames. If you found a nail inside an ossuary, then you've got to ask, why was it there?
Some argue that the nails could have been used for scratching the names of the deceased onto the sides of the ossuaries.
It's not going to be very effective for any kind of scratching. Limestone, people say it's soft, but I've actually tried this. It's not as easy as you think. So the last thing you would want is a kind of a bent nail, you know, with the head kind of getting in the way of your hand.
The question remains, why were the nails in the high priest's tomb?
So I thought, based on the archaeology, based on the textual evidence, it stands to reason that these are crucifixion nails. And if they were linked to crucifixion, there's one main candidate, and that's Jesus, because that's the only crucifixion that Caiaphas is ever linked to.
Convinced these nails are somehow related to the crucifixion, Simcha is determined to see them. He visits Dr. Gideon Avni from the IAA.
We checked all our records, all the records relevant to this tomb, and we discovered that we don't have the nails. And we either lost or found their way into some other registry or whatever. You have to realize, in this country every year you have 300 excavations. The number of artifacts found in these excavations goes to tens of millions. And minor elements, like nails, either they were lost in the stage of processing or storage, or they were mixed with some other context.
You mean like not really lost, but internally misfiled in a way?
It's a possibility.
Meaning it could be sitting in some lab or a shelf.
Maybe.
They lost them. Like, how could it be that you find nails in the tomb of a man associated with nothing but crucifixion, and you lose them? Part of me said you'll never find them, but part of me said maybe if you doggedly pursue the evidence, you'll hit pay dirt.
Hearing about Simcha's investigation, renowned anthropologist Professor Israel Hershkovitz invites Simcha to his lab. It turns out he's only ever received two matching Roman-era nails together once.
So these are the nails?
Yes, these are the two nails from Jerusalem that arrived to the lab many, many years ago, more than 15 years ago. They were in a small box. There was no indication where they are coming from.
It was like a revelation when Professor Hershkovitz said, yes, indeed, he had received two nails, right time, right period, the only two matching nails he'd ever received. Here are two unmarked nails. You obviously have taken care of them. Why?
I had the feeling that they are all connected to crucifixion.
The professor's hunch is based on a unique artifact in his lab, another nail from his collection, one that was also found inside an ossuary. This one unquestionably part of a crucifixion.
This is the only evidence we have for crucifixion
In the world.
in the world.
The nail is fused to the heel bone of a man who was crucified in the 1st century.
Now, if we go to the other two nails, they share similar characteristics, especially the rounded head at the top, as you can see it here, and the fact that the tip of the nails are bent more or less in a similar way, which is quite interesting.
Why would they bend the nail?
if you put a nail through the palm of the hand, you can easily free the hand. But if you put a nail through the palm of the hand and then you stick it to the wood, by actually bending the nail, the palm of the hands are attached firmly to the cross.
So the fact they're bent is more consistent with crucifixion than if you saw them straight.
Yes, I would say so.
This could be the nails of the crucifixion.
If they are, then Simca believes the world needs to know.
They could be those nails.
Investigative journalist Simca Jakubowicz has tracked down two nails that he thinks may be the missing nails from a 2,000-year-old tomb in Jerusalem. The burial tomb of Caiaphas, the Jerusalem high priest who helped send Jesus to the cross.
When you find a nail in the tomb of the man who's known in history for one thing, that is being associated with Jesus' crucifixion, you have to ask, are they crucifixion nails?
Simca holds a press conference in Jerusalem.
So these are possibly, the nails from that Caiaphas tomb. So if you accept that this is the tomb of Caiaphas, and if you accept that these nails came from that tomb, given that Caiaphas is only associated with the crucifixion of Jesus, they very well could be those nails.
Simca is pummeled by the media and academics. According to the Israel Antiquities Authority, his claim is baseless and a figment of his imagination.
There is no proof that the nails are connected with any bones. There is no proof that from the textual data that Caiaphas had the nails of crucifixion kept with him.
How are we imagining this? Logistically, how would it work? Is Caiaphas hanging around, kind of wandering around the crucifixion field, waiting for Jesus to be taken off the cross and says, I'll take those. Is that really how we imagine the high priest?
Faced with so much opposition, Simca turns to the scientific community for help. He approaches one of his biggest critics, former senior geologist of the Israel Archaeological Survey, Dr. Aryeh Shimron.
When these kind of conclusions are drawn with absolutely no scientific evidence, with no attempt of studying these nails, that really is a very, very far-fetched assumption.
And yet, intrigued, he decides to take a look.
So we've got this white material. These are generally various forms of calcium carbonate.
That tell you that this was in an ossuary?
Absolutely not right now.
That turns out to be limestone.
It doesn't say that it's an ossuary. It means that limestone environment, everything around here is limestone. Ossuary, cave, the mountains.
Still, he finds Simca's theory intriguing.
If I was more than just simply skeptical, I could have simply said, well, I just don't believe it. This is rubbish. However, in spite of my skepticism, I really thought that it merits study.
To test Simca's theory, Dr. Shimron will need careful scientific analysis using the latest in state-of-the-art technology. He teams up with nanoscientist Dr. Vitaly Gutkin.
I've got some nails for you.
Maybe Dr. Shimron can link these nails to Caiaphas or a crucifixion. First, they have to figure out, were they in an ancient tomb to begin with?
Where did those nails come from? What kind of environment?
To try and find out, they use a scanning electron microscope to examine the nails. It can magnify up to 500,000 times. The computer not only magnifies the nails, but also analyzes their chemistry on the exact spot they're looking at. If the nails haven't come from a cave or tomb-like environment, that will be the end of the story.
We're going to be looking at a nail under high power magnification, see what kind of materials have attached themselves to the nails. Materials which might give us some kind of an indication about the environment where these nails lay for maybe something like 2,000 years or so.
I actually doubt to find something after 2,000 years on these nails.
Let's go and have a look. We're going to look at this white cap, the head of the nail.
So now we are ready to go. So now we're ready. I make quick analysis of this.
What is that?
An unexpected discovery.
We have a lot of calcium, oxygen, and carbon. It's calcium, CaCO3. That would be the flowstone.
Flowstone is a stalactite-type material that forms when water runs down the walls or along the floors of caves.
That suggests that that nail lay in a cave environment because flowstone forms in caves exclusively.
They found the first piece of the puzzle. This means the nails could have come from a burial context. But the team still has a long way to go. Even if the nails came from a tomb, they may not have come from Caiaphas' tomb. They could just as easily have come from one of the hundreds of other tombs discovered in Israel. Can Dr. Shimron connect these unassuming nails to the tomb of the man who handed Jesus to the Romans, who then crucified him? Could these be the nails that crucified Jesus? Investigative journalist Simcha Yakubovich thinks they are. Geoarchaeologist Dr. Aryeh Shimron is skeptical, but will attempt to see if he can use geochemistry to link the nails to the famous tomb of Caiaphas and find out if they were used in a crucifixion. But why would nails have been in the high priest's tomb in the first place?
The best explanation for something that's very anomalous like that, very unusual, would be it has some sort of belief attached to it.
The answer may lie in an ancient text.
כבר 200 שנה לפני שבנו את בית הכנסת הזה, מקורות חז"ל מאפשרים ליהודים להסתובב בשבת עם כמה חפצים שיש להם כוח מיסטי לרפא. אחד מהם זה מסמר מצליבה. אבל מה שכן ברור זה שלמצמרים מצליבה יש כוח מיסטי ויהודים נורמטיביים מכירים בו. אדם לוקח איתו מסמרים לקבר בגלל שיש להם הרבה מאוד משמעות לגביו, במיוחד בקונטקסט של קבורה.
I find it intriguing, the idea that both in pagan and later in rabbinic sources, we have crucifixion nails being considered as amulets with the potential to heal. If Caiaphas had been ill, perhaps there were crucifixion nails around that were given in the attempt to heal him of his illness.
After proving the nails came from a tomb-like environment, Dr. Shimron goes to extreme lengths to continue testing Simcha's theory. And the next phase starts at a local butcher shop.
Superb stuff.
Dr. Shimron wants to understand what happens chemically over time to a nail embedded in flesh and bone. He can then compare it to the ancient nails to see if their chemistry matches.
Okay, we'll let that dry out now.
His plan? Bury the nail and wait 2 years before checking it, long enough to be certain the flesh has fully decomposed. In the meantime, Dr. Shimron turns to the next questions.
Is it possible to link in any scientific manner from the data the nails and this specific tomb, the Caiaphas tomb? And is it possible to link the nails to any specific ossuary in the tomb?
There is only one way to find out. Dr. Shimron now gets unprecedented access to the IAA's warehouses. A scene straight out of Raiders of the Lost Ark. He will now analyze various ossuaries to test for chemical fingerprints. It's cutting-edge work that's never been done before. He starts with some random bone boxes. He gathers samples from inside the ossuaries to see what has seeped into the pores of the limestone burial boxes. He then turns to the ossuaries from the Caiaphas tomb.
If we can get a few flakes of that, we might get enough.
Next step, he needs samples from the 2 ossuaries inscribed with the name Caiaphas. These are on permanent display at the Israel Museum. He samples the inscribed plain ossuary first.
What do we see here, Odette? How about taking a sample of this rubble over here, which is probably fine bone? Oh, that's nice stuff.
And finally, ossuary number 6, the fancy ossuary of the high priest himself.
We see a water line very clearly. Beneath the watermark, something has taken place. We'll see if we can find anything in here that we can actually link to our nails.
Since the nails have stalactite-like flowstone on them, the question is flowstone unique to the Caiaphas tomb, or does it appear in other ossuaries as well? After weeks of work in the nanolab, they have their answer.
We have examined ossuaries from the other tombs in the area, and we have found absolutely no flowstone in any of them. We found flowstone only in ossuary number 6.
And that's the ossuary of the high priest Caiaphas. This could be the first scientific link between the nails and the man who handed Jesus to the Romans. The nails and the Caiaphas tomb are now linked by flowstone. But that's not enough. What if the nails came from a cave and not a tomb? In pursuit of the answer, Dr. Shimron goes to an isotope lab. He brings samples of flowstone from the nails, the Caiaphas ossuary, and Jerusalem area caves.
I finally have the samples.
Isotopes are forms of elements with unique atomic properties. Archaeologists use isotopes to identify specific characteristics about the environment an artifact has come from.
We're going to compare the carbon and oxygen isotopes to try to understand under what climatic conditions the flowstone was deposited. Okay.
When the analysis is done, investigative journalist Simka Jakubowicz is invited to come and see the results as they unfold. If the isotopes on the nails are not similar to the isotopes in ossuary number 6, Simka's theory will fall.
What we're seeing is a range of isotopic values for flowstone from a number of caves.
As it turns out, the flowstone from the nails does not match the caves, but does match the ossuary of the high priest.
Both are anomalous, and both represent a very specific environment which can only be east of Jerusalem. The values are very, very close to each other, and one can say they're virtually identical. It could virtually be identical flowstone.
From exactly the same environment.
Absolutely so. This I can confirm with absolute confidence. The same environment. Oxygen and carbon isotopes absolutely support that.
Wow. It's the next piece of the puzzle. The nails may have come from Caiaphas's tomb. More than this, from his very bone box. And science is about to reveal the deeper secrets within. Isotope analysis of flowstone has shown that these two ancient nails may have come from the bone box of Caiaphas, the man responsible for sending Jesus to the Romans. For Dr. Shimron, it's still a mysterious puzzle. The scientific investigation links the nails to Caiaphas and possibly to Jesus. But if the nails were really inside Caiaphas's ossuary, wouldn't they have left traces of iron behind? Dr. Shimron returns to the Israel Museum to gather more samples.
Oh, that's nice stuff. Let's go and have a look at it.
Okay.
They're now looking for traces of iron on material from inside the Caiaphas ossuary.
Whoa, look at this and say, wow, wow, wow.
Fe, iron.
Amazingly, they find slivers of iron inside the ossuary, and these match the nails.
The nails under this kind of magnification look exactly like this. Also compositionally and texturally. This is the texture of the nails.
Let me get this straight. You have found inside the Caiaphas ossuary a piece of iron.
Not a piece, many pieces of iron oxide with a texture strongly suggesting the texture of the nails, which means that these are little, almost certainly, tiny fragments from nails. It is very, very powerful evidence that we have tiny pieces from the nails inside ossuary number 6.
So, I mean, this is a smoking gun.
This is a smoking gun, of course.
Dr. Shimron found flowstone with identical isotopic composition on the nails and in the Caiaphas ossuary. Inside the ossuary, he's now found slivers of iron that match the nails. One more chemical link between the nails and the high priest's bone box. But Dr. Shimron wants to conduct one more test before saying with certainty these nails came from Caiaphas's tomb. He takes samples of the nails to an X-ray diffraction lab. The results are dramatic. The X-ray diffraction analysis shows further proof. These are the right nails. What they find on both nails is a specific form of rust called lepidocrocite that could only have formed in a swampy environment such as a water-filled ossuary. They also find the more usual form of rust called goethite.
We find that one nail has a small amount of goethite, the other nail has a large amount of goethite. That indicates that the path, the evolutionary paths of the two must have diverged at some point in their history. Nail number 2 must have been moved into an environment with much more freely moving water, which is outside of the ossuary, perhaps in a tomb floor.
We know that the nails in the tomb, one was found inside an ossuary, one was found on the floor. So the story in the rust is the story in the archaeology.
Yes.
The nails have passed the final test.
Did the nails come from a Caiaphas tomb? The answer is an unequivocal yes. Is it possible to link the nails to any specific ossuary in the tomb? The answer is also yes.
But all of this brings them back to the biggest riddle of all. If Caiaphas took the nails with him to the grave, and if, as Simca believes, these nails were used in the crucifixion of Jesus, what does this say about Caiaphas's true connection to Jesus?
Caiaphas was caught between a rock and a hard place. What Caiaphas cares about, according to the Gospel of John, is the security of the people, the survival of the people. And that is the highest principle for him. So if Rome is going to destroy the temple, destroy the people, because there is unrest and a crowd forming around a particular individual, well, you got to do what you got to do.
Perhaps Caiaphas is not the villain we thought he was.
So it's a matter of national security. And in that context, Caiaphas said it's better for one person to die than for the whole nation to be destroyed.
But much of this hinges on whether or not the nails found in Caiaphas's tomb were actually used in Jesus' crucifixion.
Wow, look at that.
Scientists are trying to untangle a 2,000-year-old mystery. Geoarchaeologist Dr. Aryeh Shimron has forensically linked these nails to the bone box of the high priest Caiaphas, the man many consider responsible for sending Jesus to the cross. Now he's about to tackle the most difficult question of all.
The question which is hidden way out there in the back of my mind, is there good evidence to say these nails are nails from a crucifixion?
They begin by looking for organic material on the nails, maybe even flesh or bone.
Look at that.
Suddenly,
You see that?
they spot something unusual.
Whoops, come here, look at this. Can you magnify this, please? Those look like little tubes, don't they?
Yeah.
We also do see these little globules over here. It is absolutely microscopic. What do you think? Do you think these tubes might be something possibly linked to organic material?
Yes, it might be.
They find the same tubes and globules on the nails and inside the ossuaries of the Caiaphas tomb. Is it organic material, microscopic organisms? Could they be linked to decomposing flesh or bone? If the nails are from Jesus' crucifixion, they could be looking at his DNA.
examining.
They call in epidemiologist Dr. Stanley Freeman.
These spherical structures, whether small ones or big ones, these two varieties we have not found in any other ossuaries besides the Caiaphas tomb. Could you venture to make an initial guess of what these may be?
Basically, these are fungal structures. These appear to be fungal spores. The tube structures are actually filaments, in my opinion, that are termed hypha or hyphae. It's very difficult to draw a conclusion.
Unfortunately, the microscopic fungi sheds no light on whether the nails were used in a crucifixion, much less Jesus' crucifixion. Undaunted, they continue looking for evidence, now hoping to find phosphorus, a residue of human bone.
Okay, we're now going down. Whoops, what's this? What's this? Can we look in detail at some of these structures over here? You see that?
We will look at the chemistry of this. So there's some traces of phosphorus.
They should be elated. They've just found bone on the nails. But there's so little of it that they don't know what to make of it.
The concentration is very low, but there is a distinct chemical peak for phosphorus, almost certainly linked to bone. Material which has attached itself to the nail.
The human body contains about 650 grams of phosphates, 80% of it in the bones, resulting in higher levels in burial sites, where it can persist in the soil for thousands of years. The phosphorus links the nails to bone, but the researchers have found only 0.5% phosphorus on the nails. If they'd been driven through bone, wouldn't there be higher levels of phosphorus? To help answer the question, Dr. Shimron returns to an experiment that he began 2 years earlier, designed specifically for such an occasion. Can his modern-day experiment give them any clues about how much phosphorus to expect on ancient nails if they were driven through flesh and bone?
What a beautiful piece of nail. 2 years ago, we buried this nail with a big chunk of bone and flesh into the soil over here. We're going to compare the data that we're going to get from the nail, if we're lucky to get any, with data on nails which were in an ossuary. That is our rusty nail. Please brush it off and take off a rust surface for analysis.
I'll magnify this part. I'm doubt to have seen the phosphorus here.
We're not finding any bone yet.
Yes.
Ah, there we go.
So there's some traces of phosphorus. It's about 1%.
Phosphorus just left a trace, which was bone. So is it then surprising that on the nails, which were sitting around in an ossuary possibly 2,000 years, that we're not finding any bone? If the bone disappears and loses its composition so quickly.
We got pretty similar results with the ancient nails and the modern nail. That's possible same biological mechanism for degradation of the nail.
Though it doesn't prove the nails were used in a crucifixion, the phosphorus results are consistent with what happens when nails are driven through flesh and bone. But if they are crucifixion nails, will it ever be possible to find out whose? The team perseveres. They continue to look for evidence of a crucifixion. Dr. Shimron spends hours examining tiny millimeters of the nail's surface as if it's a lunar landscape.
Whoops, hold it. What is that?
Suddenly, he finds something odd.
Hold it, hold it, hold it. Wow, look at that. It looks like beehive. Could it be textile?
Have they found remnants of fabric attached to the nails? Could it be from a shroud? During the 1st century, when ossuaries were in wide use in the Jerusalem area, the body would be wrapped in a shroud before being brought to the tomb.
My mind immediately went, if these are Jesus' nails, then it's the shroud.
Forensic archaeologists have confirmed that these ancient nails are from the ossuary of Caiaphas, the high priest who sent Jesus to the Romans, who then sent him to the cross. They've even demonstrated that nails were in contact with bone. Now, they may have found fabric on the nails. Could it be from the shroud of Jesus? They call the head of a lab specializing in ancient textiles, Dr. Zvi Koren.
Hi, Zvi. We're analyzing under a scanning electron microscope a nail, and on it is some material that looks like beehive. I was wondering if it's a textile. Hey, can I send you an image? Can you look at it and see what you think?
Please do.
Is it textile?
No, Simcha, it is definitely not a textile.
Definitely not.
No.
What is it?
A dead end. But if it isn't textile, what is it?
It does look organic.
As one door closes, another opens.
Could it be wood? Wood.
If it is wood, it's no longer in its original form. It's literally been transformed into iron.
Here is that probable wood buried by sand grains. The sand came later than the wood. It's actually being glued onto the wood.
Things get petrified, they get ironized?
Ironized.
Yeah, because that's the element that was in the vicinity. If you have wood on iron, then it gets ironized. It's not wood that got attached yesterday or 50 years ago. It's part of this nail.
So it's just bonded totally.
It's totally bonded. We might be looking at the wood.
Given the possible magnitude of the find,
Nice to meet you. Nice to
the team flies in Professor Werner Schoch from Switzerland, considered by many to be the world's foremost expert on ancient wood. Can he confirm that it is wood? And if it is, can he identify the type of wood?
So this is very important. Look here, what we see here, it's a transversal section from a coniferous wood.
Is it any question that it's really wood?
No, it is no question. It is sure wood. It cannot be another thing.
You can already tell that it is a conifer from this?
Yes, it's absolutely sure. I would like to see in bigger magnification with the parts. It is holes to the next cells. You see now, you have here with punctuations. It is only Cedrus who has these punctuations. I'm now sure it is cedar.
So when the nail was buried, it was a piece of wood attached with it?
I think it must be so.
Is it a mature tree or is it possibly just a twig?
You see here very, very well, it has some rings. And these rings, they are straight. It means it comes from an older, bigger stem. And you see an interesting detail here. Cells are collapsed.
What causes this collapse?
When you put a nail, for instance, in the wood, you get this pressure and one row can collapse.
Armed with this revelation, the team goes back to the Caiaphas ossuary and makes a remarkable discovery.
Whoa, look at this. Wow, wow, wow. Wow, those are wood cells. These are small pieces of wood. The material from ossuary 6.
Wow, you found wood in the ossuary?
That is the important Caiaphas ossuary. That's a tremendous find, you realize that.
Since these nails come from the bone box of the man known in history for one thing and one thing only, his role in the crucifixion of Jesus, this could be the wood from the true cross.
For these men, this looks like proof that cedar wood became attached to nails that were pounded into bone and bent in a crucifixion some 2,000 years ago.
This looks like a smoking gun.
Yeah.
For the first time, you sound convinced.
From a point of view of mineralogy, I'm convinced.
They've now found the last piece of the puzzle. The nails were used in a crucifixion. With that, Dr. Shimron ends his 2-year scientific investigation.
There wasn't much of a roadmap when we started this journey, but the study was definitely worth it. There's now evidence, good evidence to say these nails are nails from a crucifixion. What crucifixion? I have absolutely no idea, but since we are dealing with the Caiaphas tombs, we'll let the observers draw conclusions.
If the conclusion is that these are the nails of the crucifixion that Caiaphas took with him to his grave, then perhaps the story of the Passion needs to be rewritten. It's just before the Sabbath in Jerusalem. 2.5 million Jews are expected to visit, and Jesus is stirring up trouble. To prevent civil unrest and the Romans from destroying Jerusalem, Caiaphas has no choice. He arrests Jesus.
It's collateral damage. It's the kind of decision that is made when you do something for national security and you simply acknowledge that there will be civilian casualties.
The evidence suggests that we got Caiaphas all wrong. That the man we thought he was no villain. He was in a very difficult situation. At the end of the day, somebody placed 2 crucifixion nails in his ossuary among his bones. Okay? Maybe it's someone else who was crucified, but historically we only associate Caiaphas with only one man, and that is Jesus.
It's now confirmed that these nails came from Caiaphas's tomb and from Caiaphas's ossuary, and they have traces of bone and ironized wood on them. We may never know for certain, but if they are linked to Jesus, these could be the most significant archaeological artifacts ever found.